This is Wiz Sportz, Badgers, Brewers, Backers, Bucks. If you don't root for them, your team probably sucks. Wiz Sportz.
Welcome, Packer fans. This is Zach and Zach on Wiz Sportz. These are our top 10 free agents of 2019.
Number 1, Clay Matthews. Pro Football Focus rating of 63.9. Previous contract, 5 years, $66 million. And in 2018, he cost the Packers $11.4 million in cap.
Number 2, Randall Cobb. Pro Football Focus rating of 60.2. He previously signed a 4-year, $40 million contract, costing the Green Bay Packers $12.5 million in 2018.
Number 3, Bashaud Breeland. A Pro Football Focus rating of 58.5.
Number 4, Geronimo Allison. Pro Football Focus rating of 61.4.
Geronimo! Number 5, Jake Kumro. Pro Football Focus rating 58.9.
Number 6, Jake Ryan.
Number 7, Reggie Gilbert. A Pro Football Focus rating of 63.5.
Number 8, Muhammad Wilkerson. Pro Football Focus rating of 76.5. Previously signed a 1-year, $5 million deal.
Number 9, Justin McCray with a Pro Football Focus rating of 64.6.
And number 10, Kentrell Bryce. Pro Football Focus rating of 51.
Unfortunately, not all these guys are staying, but here are our thoughts on who's staying and who's going.
From the top, Clay Matthews. Clay has been a dominant force on this defense over the last decade. Reasons why I think he should stay personally, he's got tons of experience in our defense. I know he's only been with Mike Pettin for 1 year, but with a guy like that, you have to have him on your roster. He's flexible at many positions. You can put him at inside linebacker, or you can put him as a down lineman. And if you can sign him for a smaller contract, as long as he doesn't go out and seek offer from a different team, it'd be stupid not to keep him. I mean, looking at the numbers from 2016 to 2018, he only has 16 sacks over those 3 seasons. Not the best. He really hasn't had anybody on the other side of the line like he did back in 2014 with Julius Peppers. But, I mean, with Kyler Fackrell coming up the way he did last year, and if you can get something productive out of Nick Perry, which I don't know if you can at this point, maybe Clay could have a resurgence at the end of his career.
I could see him having a resurgence with the new coach, but honestly, I don't think it would be smart for the Packers to invest more money into him. If you look at last year, he cost them $11.4 million, only had 3.5 sacks, 29 tackles. He didn't really produce in the way that he has before. The one thing I did see, I thought I saw a little bit more energy out of him this year, but as a whole, it was only on certain plays. And as a whole, the Packers team, they got complacent. He was part of that. I think there was times where he could have played a little harder. He could have wrapped up. There's tackles that he could have made. The younger Clay would have been a little bit more tenacious, would have been able to make those tackles, make the plays. He was called Claymaker for a reason. And now you're really not seeing those plays out of him as much. And as you said, Kyler Fackrell kind of stole the spotlight from him this year with his season. And yeah, he had him to work with too. So I don't see why the Packers would spend any more money on a guy that has spent a long time there, but a guy that has been obviously declining over the last about 5 years here. So I guess the Packers could re-sign him to a small contract, but all in all, I don't think the Packers should really invest too much into him.
And like I said before, and I know you agree with it too, if he decides to check the open market, check and seek an offer from another team, I'm pretty sure he's gone because somebody's going to offer him more than what the Packers can. So, I mean, his only hope and our only hope is, hopefully he doesn't get anything too outstanding from another team.
I think it would be smart for him to do that. I 100% agree with that. I think if he goes somewhere else, he's going to get a better deal. And I could almost see him going somewhere else and being a little bit more productive. Sometimes a change in scenery is all you need to kick you back to the player you used to be. And you've seen that a couple times now in the league. And I think that could be the case for Clay Matthews.
Right on. So our next guy we got, Randall Cobb. Some of you may have heard of him. He's been with the Packers for a long time, one of Aaron Rodgers' favorite targets. I really want this guy to stay. I don't think the free agent market is super in-depth for slot receivers. I don't think that there's many guys out there that you're going to get. It sounds kind of stupid because there are bigger names out there. Like you got John Brown, Jamison Crowder, stuff like that, guys that are still young enough and could work great with Aaron Rodgers. But that's the thing with Aaron Rodgers. You need chemistry, and Cobb has it. You saw when Jordy left. You see with all the new young
I kind of
rookie
disagree
receivers.
with that a little bit. I think that he's lost some of the chemistry. I think with him being injured all the time that he hasn't really connected with Rodgers as much as he did in the past. You saw that on that. Well, there's a one play that touchdown in the end zone that Rodgers put it right in the corner there, and it looked like the old Rodgers to Cobb combo. But I didn't really see that much this year. I think, like I said, a lot of it has to do with him not being on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he missed 7 games this year, and I mean, the last time he missed any significant time was in 2016. He missed 3 games, but I mean, it's a fact. Since his contract year in 2014, Cobb really hasn't produced. I mean, his next best year was 2015 after he signed that big contract. He only put up 79 catches for 829 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is half of what he had in 2014 when he was trying to earn that contract. So, I mean, it's tough to see guys like that go. You want him to stay. It's the same with Jordy.
Right.
You know, no one
That's
wanted
that
to see
feel
Jordy
good.
go,
Mm-hmm.
but we all had that feeling last year. It was either Jordy or it was Cobb, and they chose age. They chose the younger Cobb.
Yeah, and I honestly think they may have made a mistake on that. But all right, number 3, we got Bashaud Breeland. I think that the Packers would be stupid, just completely stupid, if they didn't go and get this guy, even if they cost them a little bit of money. He had a chance to sign with Carolina last year. It was kind of like a diamond in the rough kind of situation here. He had a chance to sign with Carolina for a 3-year, like a $24 $26 million deal, and he couldn't pass his physical because of a foot infection. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's crazy.
So because of that, the Packers were able to scoop him up for cheap. They got him for like $800,000 this year, and they got a lot of production out of this guy. He came up with plays in times that the Packers needed it, and that would only bolster our already growing and improving secondary.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. 2 years ago, our secondary was depleted. We had nothing, so we had to go and we had to draft 2 guys in the first and second round this year. And I mean, Breeland, only 26 years old. He has 10 career picks over 4 seasons, which is pretty darn good. And the players want to play with him. Jair even came out and said, I need this guy next year. I really hope we re-sign him because I need him, and he needs me, and this whole defense needs him because, I mean, think about it. You'd have Jair, Bashaud Breeland, Josh Jackson, Tony Brown, I believe Tony Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Tramon Williams could move back. Kevin King, who's also coming back from an injury.
Yeah, and Kevin King is
If he can stay healthy,
yeah.
I think the future's bright for him, but
Yeah, and just even imagining having Kevin King and Jair on the field healthy, and you add Bashaud Breeland to the mix. I don't see, and you got Josh Jackson. I don't see how the Packers secondary would need any more help if they could get him re-signed.
coming in at number 4, what a name, Geronimo Allison.
There is no better name to yell than Geronimo when he scores a touchdown, even when he gets a first down. I think every Packer fan has an obligation to yell, Geronimo! Every time he scores. I do. It's such an awesome name.
So this guy, expectations were through the roof. I knew he was going to be good. I had a deep feeling this guy was going to be a
Man,
stud.
I was with you on that.
And unfortunately, like a lot of the Packers team, depleted by injuries. I mean, he got hurt early and didn't really get to see the season. We all thought he went on IR. We thought he was going to come back, but he didn't. So
He started the season strong. He had that chemistry with Rodgers. He was making plays. He was consistent. That's something that we weren't getting out of any other receiver other than Devontae Adams. And honestly, I was just seeing him becoming the Devontae Adams when it was Jordy and Adams. I was seeing it as Adams and Geronimo the same way it was before. So, honestly, I really don't think the Packers have much of a decision to make here.
Yeah,
they need to sign this guy.
This guy's right next to Rashad Breeland. You have to sign him. He's especially with the new coach coming in. You need this guy. He's a good piece. He has that chemistry with Rodgers. He's young too. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You have to sign this guy. The only thing I could see is some team reaching out and making a crazy offer, making him
I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Packers should be able to get him back on a contract that's long and something that's not going to cost them a lot of money. All right, next we got Jake Kumro, and I think the Packers really, really need to sign this guy. Everyone got excited about him in preseason, and obviously preseason is not something to just go off of. But we didn't see the kind of chemistry that we saw with Rodgers and Kumro, and just Kumro's production period, in a guy since, honestly, it reminded us a little bit of Jordy Nelson. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I love this guy. I mean, like you said, he lit it up in preseason, and you can't base everything off of that. But, I mean, he should be a guy that they re-sign. The only thing that's going to stop him is the depth they have with MVS, Equinemius, Jamon Moore. What are you supposed to do with that? I mean, if they draft a rookie, he might just be out of the picture like that.
And you can't really go off of what he produced last year because he was hurt.
Yeah.
Another guy that was just hurt.
He came in at the end of the season and he had a couple good games there with Rodgers. He had a couple good catches. He had that really nice touchdown against the Jets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this guy, I think he comes back. The Packers should be able to get him on a small deal. And not only does he come back, but he should be able to produce. And honestly, he's more impressive than a couple of the rookies that we got. St. Brown looked pretty good. Valdez-Scantling looked good. But Jamon Moore was kind of absent. And I think if he comes back, he can kind of leapfrog him in the depth chart. And then if the Packers can get him back, that may have a lot of influence in whether or not they re-sign Geronimo or Randall Cobb.
We both would love to see Kumro back, though, bottom line. We got Jake Ryan next. Jake Ryan, hell of a player. Unfortunately, his season didn't even get started. He got hurt in training camp. But if he gets re-signed, I feel like him and Blake Martinez paired together could combine for over 220, 230, maybe even 250 tackles on the season.
Yeah.
Jake Ryan had 89, I believe, it was 81 and 82 or something like that.
The last couple of years.
Yeah, 2017 and 2016.
Mm-hmm.
You need him. You don't really have a whole lot of depth at inside linebacker.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, you can move Clay there if you re-signed him. You have Oren Burks. I think Jake Ryan's a must-sign.
I think he would add a lot of depth to the Packers. And like you said, when he was on the field, he was productive. He may not have been the best cover linebacker. A lot of linebackers really aren't that great at coverage. But this guy always had a nose for the football. He would be there. He was a good run stopper. And sometimes he'd be able to create pressure. And I think that's a key that the Packers need just to build a little bit better foundation for their defense and gain some depth. You know, we were all kind of excited about it again. He was producing, and we expect a little bit of a big year out of him this year. And it was really disappointing to see him get hurt.
Yeah, they definitely bring him back. I got to feel him.
All right, next on the list, we have Reggie Gilbert. I think the Packers may re-sign this guy. It's a kind of a dependency thing on what they do with Clay Matthews, what they do with Muhammad Wilkerson, whether or not they keep Nick Perry, because they could cut him. He was somewhat productive in certain parts of the season. He was productive in preseason. You can't really put all of your expectations in based off of that, but we were kind of excited about him. We expected a little more out of him statistically, but he did. There were some good things that we saw out of him. We just expected him to do a little bit more with the kind of excitement that he brought out of people during the preseason.
Yeah, for sure. When Nick Perry went out, he missed 7 games. I thought Reggie Gilbert was going to come in. He was going to fill his shoes. I thought for sure that Reggie Gilbert was going to take over, be dominant, and we were going to cut Nick Perry, and Reggie Gilbert was going to be our new pass rusher on the edge. But Unfortunately, that didn't happen. Like you said, he did really good in preseason, and you can't just expect that in the regular season. It's a completely different game. But that being said, it's super hard because if Clay comes back, if Muhammad Wilkerson comes back, there might not be a spot for Reggie Gilbert. So
yeah, the Packers are going to have to make a tough decision. This is going to be kind of dependent on, again, whether or not they're going to be able to sign him to a smaller deal and to give him kind of a prove himself kind of thing again here for the 2019 season. I would only imagine it being a one-year deal.
Coming in at number 8, we have Muhammad Wilkerson. We just signed this guy to a 1-year, $5 million deal. He only played 3 games this year due to injury. It's a pretty gruesome injury, too. I remember he was down on the field. They put him in an air cast. He actually had to stay the night at the hospital because the leg injury was so bad. But I thought this guy was what we needed on that defensive line next to Kenny Clark and Mike Daniels and Dean Lowry. And I would say re-sign him, but no one knows how serious that leg injury was, if it's back to normal. He was a productive force when he was with the Jets a couple seasons ago. So we'll see, I guess. I would like to see us re-sign him because we need edge rushers. We could probably get him cheaper than what we got him. We could maybe get him for a 1-year, $3 million deal. Who knows?
Yeah, honestly, if the Packers can get him for a little bit cheaper, it would be worth re-signing him just to see. But you don't know with a guy that's 30 years old with that gruesome of a leg injury. He may not ever be able to come back to that productive guy that he was when you saw him play for the Jets. And honestly, I didn't necessarily like the move to get him last year anyway. I didn't think he was productive enough to go pay that guy. I thought there was better guys that were available, and I also think that there's going to be better guys on the market that are available in free agency this year. So yeah, I honestly would like to see the Packers almost kind of let him go. It sucks for a guy that got hurt and only got to play 3 games a season, but I don't see it as a move that's going to be really worth it for the Packers in the end. All right, number 9, we got Justin McCray, and I don't believe that the Packers should re-sign this guy unless they can get him on a deal that's not going to be breaking the bank, which he might get a better offer from another team. He's a guy that was solid enough to get an offer from another team. There isn't much on the market out there for offensive linemen. The Packers' offensive line in general was pretty crappy last year, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pitiful, actually, in my opinion. This isn't a guy that really showed a lot. He wasn't like a superstar. He wasn't someone that you saw doing anything special. But he also wasn't a guy that I could see giving, letting people through and getting to Aaron Rodgers. So with him, you're kind of getting an average, mediocre player, but someone that's solid too at the same point that would give depth to the offensive line, because there really isn't anybody else that's going to replace him much, on the roster, and there's not someone you can really go out and get in free agency. You'd have to draft a player hoping that he could start right out of his rookie season.
I definitely thought McCray, he came in and he filled the holes as needed, but wasn't anything spectacular. He made mistakes. All together this year, the offensive line wasn't very good. Bakhtiari was the brightest spot on the offensive line. Corey Linsley, he's always good. But the only positive thing I can say, that's not the only positive thing. There's a few things I can say about Justin McCray, but one of the main positives, he played in multiple positions. He played tackle, he could play guard. You can switch him to the left side of the line or the right side of the line. He's very versatile. You can move him around. So I think we're going to re-sign him just for that fact. I'm not really sure if we're going to go out and draft an offensive lineman with our first pick. So I think they re-signed McCray just based on the fact that you can move him around, and he did step up last year.
A point you've made before is every time the Packers go out and get this hybrid kind of offensive player, or hybrid just players in general, they don't seem to pan out the way that we want them to. They're more of a jack of all trades rather than being a master at one. And I think we've seen that kind of show through in our rosters the last few years, that these guys that we're just kind of having a mediocre roster. We're not having, superstars unless, you're Aaron Rodgers or Devontae Adams or Jair was a great addition to the team. But we're not really getting that good or great of production out of these hybrid kind of guys.
Coming in last on our list at number 10, Kentrell Bryce. There's not really much I can say about this guy. Complete disappointment. Blue coverages, missed tackles, poor tackling, dumb decisions. That's all I got.
Honestly, I don't understand why Mike McCarthy chose to keep starting him. He kept going with him. He said, no, I'm not going to put Josh Jones in. I'm going to keep going with this guy. When he first came into the Packers, as a rookie, I thought he was going to be something great. We watched film on him, thought, hey, he's a hard-hitting guy. He's going to be the next guy on our in our secondary to complement Clinton Dix and really bring the Packers to a Super Bowl and bolster this defense. And we really found a guy here. Since then, obviously, as Zach summed it up, just terrible. He broke Muhammad Wilkerson's leg, and honestly, I can't forgive him for that.
That about wraps it up on our top 10 free agents for the Packers in this upcoming offseason. Thank you so much for tuning into our first episode of Wiz Sportz.
Go Pack, go!
This is Wiz Sportz, Badgers, Brewers, Backers, Bucks. If you don't root for them, your team probably sucks. Wiz Sportz.